Well, it's a big game changer in the sense that plausible deniability for the Kremlin has gone. Over the past 2, 3 weeks, there have been a number of reports about heavy equipment being filtered into Ukraine across the porous border with Russia, including tanks, armored personnel carriers, and surface-to-air missile batteries. And the Kremlin has been able to simply deny that this is the case. And the big business lobby in the Western countries that has been fighting tooth and nail against sanctions has been able to use those denials to block any political ambitions to strike back at Russia. That is gone now. The outrage over the downed airliner is such that it's turning the other way around. Now we are going to be prone to believe even outrageous things coming from the other side, that we need to be wary of accusations of Russian wrongdoing. But the tide has really turned, and those who have resisted imposing sanctions on Russia, their case has collapsed like a house of cards. And we can see that the Russians are really running scared now. The oligarchs, the business tycoons in Moscow are leaking that they are frightened that sanctions are going to ruin Russia and that the impact is going to be incredibly severe. But they are so fearful of sanctions from the Kremlin that they do not dare speak up in public. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of movement in Moscow. Well, this is the really tough question. The prudent thing that Putin really should do now is he has a window of opportunity in the sense that he can say that what these separatists have done is so outrageous that it simply cannot be excused by anybody, and we will disavow them. Then the Ukrainian army would be able to smoke out the rebellion. But that would trigger a lot of backlash at home, and Mr. Putin is also not the man who gladly accepts humiliation. He would then be forced to eat a lot of his former rhetoric. So I doubt very much that he will pull back. And the outrage in the West is so big now that cosmetic pullback will not be sufficient. Western countries will demand that Putin really does pull back substantially and shuts down the border and sort of pulls the rug from under the feet of these thugs in eastern Ukraine. I really cannot see him doing that. So he will stonewall accusations of complicity. He may not step up support for the rebels, but he'll maintain it. And as we are speaking here now, we get reports that fighting is intense in Donetsk city, meaning that no instructions have been given to the rebels to stand down and observe some sort of truce. So this is likely going to be pretty bad. Well, what has been until now a sort of a standoff between Russia and the West over Ukraine, a zero-sum game where both sides have tried to pull Ukraine into their own orbit, and there have been sort of vague threats of sanctions from the West, and there have been less vague threats from Russia that they would undertake a ground invasion. But this has been a lot of posturing. Now we're moving into a hot conflict. And if the Americans, followed by the Europeans, really do impose what is known as sector-wide sanctions, i.e. not targeting individuals, but targeting whole sections of the Russian economy, like the financial system, and just shutting down. We can basically shut down the financial system of the Russian economy and cause it to go into total collapse. If this happens, then Russia is going to strike back massively. Germany has 6,200 businesses operating inside Russia that are presently hostages. So the fallout of escalation here, if Russia strikes back big time, then sanctions will have to be increased, and it's going to be some while until we can see this leveling out into a coming together between Russia and the West. And who is the honest broker here? We can't rely on the Chinese, and there really isn't anybody to mediate in this crisis. So it really does look very, very worrisome.